Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to Full Credit to Not Another Bradman Best Bukkake podcast. I'm your special guest, former legend. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and that pocket-ass platform that is Blue Sky, at former_legend. And let's kick off what caught my senses in the past 7 days. I don't know if you've heard of this, boys. It's the police in Ottawa, in Ontario, who had to issue a very public and serious reminder asking residents to stop bringing explosives to police stations. The request came after a well-meaning local found an unexploded World War II grenade and decided the best course of action would be to walk it straight into the cop shop and drop it on the front desk. And another citizen found a grenade from the Vietnam War and threw it towards the police station from his car while he yelled out, "Fucking pigs!" But no one accused him of being well-meaning. Anyway, enough of that. Let's do a rapid recap of round 19, which was, of course, Jarome Luai round, where the NRL celebrated the hypocritical prowess of Jarome Luai. And to commemorate such an occasion, the NRL relived on the big screens all the times old Richie Rich has said one thing and then went and done the exact opposite. Who can forget the all-time classic, "I'm gonna be a Tiger for life"? Or his follow-up hits, "I signed for 5 years, I'll be here for 5 years." Or what about that hashtag team first? Or "I'm here for the long run and I'm here to change this club around." Or the timeless classic, "As long as they do right by me and my family, they'll have nothing to worry about." So after signing a 5-year deal, old Daddy Warbucks is out the door after doing just 2. So Jarome, I know you're listening. Don't let the door hit your ass on the way out. And the Parramatta fans, best of luck. Let's start with the team of destiny, the West Tigers, who went down to the New Zealand Warriors 32 points to 6 on Friday night at the Meth Lab Stadium. It was a 6-1 romp for the Kiwi visitors, who were clearly on the end of some very favourable decisions from referee Wyatt Earp. Sure, the Tigers missed 42 tackles and conceded 11 line breaks by full time, but Earp played his part. And the Tigers' plight wasn't made any easier when former Warriors and now Tigers front rower Bugs Bunty Ofoa got put in the bin for 10 minutes for trying to murder charred Nickel Clockface. While he was sitting on the pine, the Warriors went on and put 2 tries on the Tigers and looked like they might put 50 on the home team by the end of the game. But we hung on to only concede 32. But how about this for a stat? This was Benji Marshall's 65th game as Tigers coach, and he's won 22 of those games. In Michael Maguire's first 65 games, he had won 24. I'll let that sink in. Saturday, and the Dolphins were a bit unlucky to go down to the Sharks 66 points to 0 up at Buffering Stadium. Sharks halfback Nacho Hines single-handedly destroyed the Dolphins and rewrote Cronulla's history books, scoring 2 tries of his own and kicking a mountain of goals to finish with an individual tally of 30 points. It broke Brett Kamali's record from more than 10 years ago, and remarkably, both these Sharks have gone really well in State of Origin. Yep. Already missing their Origin contingent and star playmaker Isaiah Katoa, the Dolphins' afternoon went from embarrassing to disastrous in the second half when utility Max Plath was crushed heavily by Cronulla defenders in a tackle and failed to finish the match. The trainer strapped his left ankle and was about to send him back out before Plath looked up at the scoreboard to see the Sharks were up by 50 at that stage. So Plath immediately grabbed a hammer and started smashing his right ankle to ensure he didn't have to go back on. The second game on Saturday was out at Empty Seat Stadium, where the Raiders humiliated the Bulldogs in front of 19,000 clearly lost people. They beat them 40 points to 16. The Bulldogs were guilty of a truly insipid performance, or as Triple M's Ben Dobbin continually calls it on Triple M, proformance in this game. Twice Canberra dummy half Owen Paddy produced freakish 40-20 kicks, both times completely catching the Bulldogs' back 3 sleeping. And to put the absolute icing on the cake, Ethan Sanders orchestrated a try by sending a grubber kick directly through the legs of a Bulldogs defender, allowing Simi Sasagi to dive on it and bring up the 40-point mark. The performance, or proformance, as Ben Dobbin continually calls it on Triple M, had James Graham on all of his 5,000 podcasts this week saying you can almost put a line through the Dogs for this year, before mentioning their win against the Panthers earlier in the year for the 9 millionth time. After the game, Ricky Stewart carried on like a frog in a blender, bleating about a couple of people having a crack at him in the media over the past few weeks. Michael Maguire sends his condolences, "You fucking sook." The final game on Saturday was at Pappas Polita Stadium, where the Sydney Roosters defeated the Parramatta Eels 28 points to 12 in a match that was as much about celebrating a club legend as it was about 2 competition points. The man they call Twin Bogs, Daniel Tupous, stole the headlines in his 300th NRL appearance, scoring 3 tries in the presence of the Prime Minister of Tonga. It was Twin Bogs' 7th hat-trick of his career. And it was a tough night for the Eels fans who looked directionless in attack, although thankfully they're getting one of the Tigers' hand-me-down players in the halves in 27, and he definitely won't be there trying to convince any other Eels players to come to Papua New Guinea Chiefs, because he's a man of honour whose word is rock solid. Again, good luck, Para. Sunday, and the South Sydney Rabbitohs held off a furious finishing Newcastle Knights to escape with a 26 points to 24 victory in a thriller at Empty Seep Stadium. It's not often that both sets of fans can leave a game somewhat satisfied, but the Bunnies put on their best performance of the year, while the Knights chased them up until the final minutes to narrowly miss the win. And they might consider themselves a tad unlucky when they look to have scored a critical momentum-shifting try, but the play was sent upstairs, with the bunker ruling that Newcastle's Dane Gagai had initiated contact with South defender Jayden Sullivan in the defensive line early in the second half. It had fans up in arms, arguing that Sullivan had clearly slipped over on his own before any contact was made. When most neutral fans realised it was Newcastle who were getting the rough end of the deal, they were quick to tell Knights fans to cry me a fucking river. The second game on Super Sunday saw the Cowboys steal the win from the Seagulls 19 points to 18 at Foreskin Park. Coincidentally, 1918 is the last time there were any maintenance done at Foreskin Park, including changing the urinal crystals in the dunnies at the back of the hill. The absolute peak of this match came 2 minutes into the sudden death extra time period. Under immense pressure from a charging Manly defensive line, Cowboys fullback Scott Bongwater stepped up and cleanly snapped a perfect field goal to win the game. It was a perfect practice for next year for Bongwater, who was heading to the Dragons. Obviously he won't be kicking many drop goals, but he'll definitely be taking plenty of line dropouts, so that's good practice. The final game on Sunday saw Melbourne Storm edge out the Gold Coast Titans 22 points to 18 at Ronron-Kutut Park in a match that was far tighter than most expected. Melbourne welcomed back several key players but had to withstand a spirited Titans comeback to snap their recent poor form. Cameron Munster had originally been named but was ruled out after Origin 3, with Craig Bellamy opting not to back him up. At that time it was described as rest management, although it was since emerged he requires knee surgery and will miss several weeks. The absolute flashpoint of this match happened in the 79th minute, with the scores locked dead at 18-all. Storm centre Nick Meaney drove hard for the line but appeared to be stopped short of the stripe by a wall of 4 Titans defenders who seemingly held his momentum and drove him back. While on his knees, Meaney managed to reach out a second time to plant the ball over his head. It was a pretty loose decision to award the try that had the entire 8 Titans fans storming the NRL headquarters on Monday morning. So that's round 16 wrapped up, boys, a round where the PNG Chiefs inserted a double agent at the Eels, Ricky Stewart treated the media like morons, and the Sharks began their annual prick tease for their fans. Back to you in the Nathan Brooks Memorial Studios.